Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another one of my episodes. As you know, I've been traveling around here in southern Louisiana to go over the storm damage in areas that were hardest hit by Hurricane Ida, where everybody's affected. And today I'm with State Representative Beryl Amedee. Representative, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
It's been great having you here today.
Well, I got to tell you, I want to thank you, Representative, because you've given me an excellent tour of the area. We've gone on a ride all over the place, and what we're going to do in this video is we're going to explain to you where we've been, where we stopped, and we'll tell some stories along the way, and the needs of the people down here, because in the weeks to come, this area is going to need a lot of help, and I want to make notice of that. Representative, so how do you explain Houma and the 5 bayous? You know, I like how you did that to give everybody a good understanding of it.
Sure. The way we like to explain to visitors and to children about the area is using the palm of your hand. If this is Houma, there are 5 bayous that go south all the way to the Gulf. And so the places we went today, we started on the part that's my district, which is the western side. So we went down, the first bayou was Bayou du Large, and then we went to Dulac. And then we continued from there through a few more communities. Well,
when we were in Du Large, I think that was one of our first stops. We stopped at Grace Lutheran, where there was an organization called Forged by Fire, who was feeding people at Grace Lutheran. They've been all over the place, you know, helping out some people. So we had some good conversation with them at that church.
Right.
And then what I was really impressed with was our first stop was in Du Large. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of people don't realize how affected this community is. I mean, do you have any stories that you remember personally from down there?
Oh, there's so many. Ever since the hurricane passed, we've been going down to the bayou communities almost daily, and we've spoken to so many residents, so many fishermen, so many pastors of churches that are doing outreaches right now, and the stories are just amazing stories. Some of the stories are of survival during the storm itself. There were people who were attempting to weather the storm on their boats, and their boats overturned. There were people who weathered the storm in their homes and were in their home at the time that the hurricane took the roof off. Just so many stories.
I'll post pictures later. I mean, I've seen where roofs are off the house sitting in the yard. You know, you hear story, but here's the other story that I want to talk about the most, is how many volunteers have come down from all over the country to help this community, and how people in the community are helping each other. You know, I was really impressed. Who was the woman that we met who's in charge, I think, of the playground there in Du Large?
The recreation district, that's Tammy from Du Large, who is in charge of the recreation facility, and she has currently at least 5 disaster relief organizations operating right out of the gym right there in Du Large, and they're able to hand out all the necessary items from water to groceries to paper products, cleaning supplies, and every day there's a hot meal, and people can come to the recreation center and pick these things up, and then there are volunteer teams who will load up a truck or a car and go out into the community and bring these supplies and meals to the people who are in many cases just trying to pick up what they can salvage or clean their homes, the parts that are livable, to make them more comfortable while they're waiting for rebuilding.
You know, 2 things that she told me was, one, we were going to interview her earlier, but she was so emotional about the needs of the community. You know, that you know, and how hurt and devastated everybody is down here. You know, and what I'm surprised about, she even said, you have people who their homes are gone, you know, and they're there serving food and helping others who've also lost their homes.
Right. So maybe in another week or 2, Miss Tammy will be willing to do an interview, but yeah. Right now it's just too real, and sometimes people don't really want to be on camera when they're very emotional.
Right. So. And that's how emotional this place is. Also want to point out, you know, she tells a story that the people here, you know, they're not waiting for government handouts, and they don't want to be transported to a hotel away. they want to be here on their property. And she was going over some of the needs of the people in this community to be able to stay on their property. They need tents, you know, they want family-sized tents, you know, air mattresses, and the things that we take for granted, you know, are like our cell phones or our computers. And she says that people can't even go online because they are, you know, they don't have, you know, the chargers. So just people bringing down chargers, right?
Yep, yep. Right now, the conditions down the bayous, especially the farther south you go, in many cases, well, in most cases, there is no electricity. So some people have generators and a lot of people don't. But in many cases, they don't have running water yet. The water system here was so damaged by the immense number of trees that were down and power lines that fell and pulled up the water lines and broke them, that the people down the bayous are often still waiting for water. So the bare necessities are not even there, and they're making do. They're
living in tents. And
yes, well, the ones who have tents, some people are still sleeping in their vehicles. Some people have made little lean-tos out of tarps. They just tie it to whatever's still standing of their home, or whatever they can find to hold up a tarp, and they're making do. They want to stay on their property. They want to be with their belongings. They don't want looters to come and take everything that they've managed to save while they go and spend the night in a shelter. So they want to be home, and as William said, they're not waiting on the government. They are doing what they can with what they have, and so they've already begun the processes of cleaning up and moving debris, and they are rebuilding already if they have access to materials. Those who have insurance are going to be able to rebuild more quickly than those who don't. Those who don't may need a lot of help from FEMA, a lot of help from charitable relief organizations that come to town, and it's just going to take a little time. Some people are saying years. I really don't expect it to be years. The bayou communities are used to hurricanes. They're used to rebuilding, and as long as materials are available, they're going to move as quickly as they can, because honestly, they want to fix their homes so they can go back to work. And as soon as their jobs are ready, that's what they'll be doing. They'll be working during the day and fixing their home at night, or going out on the shrimp boat for the week and fixing their home on the weekend. Whatever it takes. It's kind of a way of life.
This is a resilient people that, like you said, you know, they want to stay on their property so they can fix it, secure it. You know, they're not waiting on handouts, but they do need the help from the community, because, you know, some of them, you know, have been hard hit and just can't afford it. Mm-hmm. Some don't have insurance, like you said, but they need our help, because there's stores there's actually the areas where we were, there's not even grocery stores open. No. And you know, cleaning supplies, tents, air mattresses, but pillows. Cleaning, like I said, and maybe cleaning supplies. They're getting food in, mm-hmm. but they really need just all kinds of miscellaneous things that we take for granted. Yeah. So after Dularge, after there, we went down to a pastor's church down there, down on
in Dulac.
In Dulac, right? Okay, and we saw another pastor down there, and
we did see a pastor in Dularge too.
Yeah, in Dularge, right?
There. Along Bayou Dularge, there are several distribution points, and one being the Dularge Recreation Center that we spoke of. Another is Dularge Baptist Church, and every day they are distributing items, needed items, household items, food, cleaning supplies, right. Diapers, and so those contributions, when they come to this area, are going out and meeting the immediate needs right. of the community. And from there we went over to Dulac, and we stopped at Pastor Kirby Verrett's church, yeah. And they're getting set up to do more distribution
in that area, right?
Yep. And
you want to find, we've brought up church, mm-hmm. but not only is it you know, can people help by giving to the churches here? People want to know how they can help. If they want to feel comfortable about who they give help to, they can help the churches that are doing distributions that we're pointing right. out. You know, we'll name the churches again. Mm-hmm. But I find that not only do they have a lot of faith, but some of these people have a lot of humor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some of these people are still laughing. You know, they're still you know, trying to find ways to, you know, to have some humor in it.
Yes, we look on the bright side. For Terrebonne Parish, for once, this hurricane did not bring flooding. And so we are not dealing with a bunch of stinky mud that's ruined everything that you
Like Levees
own.
is, right?
Yeah, it's so unfortunate.
Right.
But for Terrebonne, our levees held, our levees were not overtopped, and they were not breached. And this is strictly a wind event. So maybe for the first time, we've had a major hurricane, probably the most major hurricane that has hit the southern end of the parish. And we're able to salvage plenty, and so the people are joyful, not really for their stuff, but
For their
we
lives.
realized, yes, we realized we didn't lose anyone in this storm. For as much damage and devastation that we've seen today, riding through several bayou areas, there was no loss of life, and so we have a lot to be thankful for, and the people are very joyful.
But the one thing, a couple things to point out, like you said, that spill, the levees systems held up. That's a testament of good legislation, you know, from past people who've taken the time, you know, and I think there was local parish government. You said
Yes.
that worked on those levees, and so that might be a good example for other districts, other areas, you know, that need to look at what worked, you know, in this district.
Well, yes, in Terrebonne Parish, the levees that I'm referring to that held and that work so well are part of the Morganza to the Gulf levee system. And this is the first fiscal year that the federal government has sent any money at all. The entire Morganza to the Gulf system that's been built so far has been built strictly with local and state funding. And so the people of Terrebonne Parish, the people of Lafourche Parish, we voted a tax upon ourselves several years back because we knew that if we were going to stay here, we couldn't wait any longer on the federal government, or we'd all be living north of I-10 right now.
Right, exactly.
So we took it upon ourselves, and it's a good thing we did that, because in this day and time, the way governments do budgets, whether it's state or federal, match money means a lot. When you have buy-in, when we have put up so many millions of dollars of our own tax dollars, that gets attention.
Right.
That speaks. So when the parishes put up their own money, the state said, well, we'll pitch in. Well, now that the state has also pitched in, the federal government is finally saying, well, you guys have done so much, and now they're going to pitch in, finally. So I believe that is a testament to the people and the determination, and I believe it's a really good example to other local or parish governments. If you can take matters into your own hands, if you can begin to fund something on your own, then it draws match money that you may not otherwise get.
And you know, it's a good example. I'm making an analogy here. You know, you're talking about matching, you know, government dollars with government dollars to build levees and help the communities. It's kind of like the people in this community are working together to help each other, but it's helpful to have people match that help, you know, when they send in relief into these areas,
Right.
you know, much needed relief that they have. You know, another thing we point out, y'all brought me way down to the end of one of those roads, and you see things like refrigerators and dishwashers in the middle of a field. And you think, how in the world was a storm this powerful that it brings a dishwasher or refrigerator to the middle of some random field?
Yes, and many times we saw a roof, just a roof, laying on the ground in the middle of property, and we couldn't figure out what building it even came off of. So
Right, we're looking around.
the winds were just amazing. What the winds can do in situations like that, it's just your mind can't always believe what your eyes are seeing.
Right.
It's just amazing.
So this is a fishing community mainly that we went down into. So one of the things I think Louisianans can do, you know, after the weeks and months that come, is find some of these people to do business with.
Yes.
You know, to buy for seafood, businesses, restaurants. So as we came back up to the north, we stopped at another church. Was it Norton or is it
Pastor Norbert?
Pastor Norbert?
That's
you know, they're doing
that's
another
in Dularge.
in Dularge.
I'm sorry, that's in Dulac. That's Anchor Foursquare Church in Dulac. Pastor Norbert Billiot.
And they're doing just a few distribution and,
Yes.
and supplies and other kinds of medical needs
Yeah.
and stuff. So, and then after there, we went back around Lake. What was it you said?
we went across Lake Boudreaux, but also want to mention besides Anchor Church, just a little ways up the road from there is Holy Family Catholic Church, and they've been doing an outstanding job with distributions also. And then all the way up on Grand Caillou Road, there is Grand Caillou Baptist Church, and they're around the Ashland community.
Yeah.
So the churches really hit the ground running. I mean, it's almost as if the churches were setting up to begin helping with the needs of the community before the winds even died down.
Yeah.
And so I have to just give a lot of credit to the churches. And so we start off with what we have locally, and then there are large relief organizations that come from all over the country, and then they supplement and they continue to bring in supplies. And they also sometimes provide volunteers. So just as we were saying a moment ago, sometimes the person handing the plate lunch to someone who has lost their home is a person who's lost their own home.
Right.
And so we can always use volunteers if you want to come on down to the bayous in Terrebonne sometime and just give a few hours helping, just being that smiling face and the helping hand. Let me know. I can always send you somewhere and plug you in wherever where somebody needs a break.
And that's another good point. Like I said, you don't have to buy supplies or send supplies. You can just come down here. Sometimes it's pulling debris out to the front of for somebody, but also just being a part of the team down here, where you see people from all over the country helping each other. And sometimes these people just want to know that people care. They just want to know that somebody's there.
Yeah.
And then I think after that we rounded it back up, around wherever the lake was.
Yes, and we went up through
Coquetry, Chauvin, and came on back up.
And Berg.
And then Montague, and came back up.
So he had a Bayou Grand Tour. He saw probably more than half of all the bayous today.
I appreciate, and look, I thank you very much for your time and the tour, and I want to use that time that you gave me as a way to find ways to help other people get involved and helping this community down here, and to not forget about this area down here in Terrebonne and Houma and all the bayou roads, all those 5 bayous that go down towards the lake. Yeah. And Bo, any last thing, any parting words there?
Well, let's see. Two very useful items if you want to collect some things to send on down. Tents, especially family-sized tents, and also storage totes, like those Rubbermaid containers with covers, because even though you can salvage your items, you need a place to put them that's safe and out of the weather. So those 2 items will really help. And I just want you to remember, next time you sit down to a seafood meal, anything that has shrimp or fish or oysters, these are the areas where your seafood comes from. So please keep us in mind. Support Louisiana seafood, and come on down if you want to lend a hand. We'd love to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Representative. I really appreciate the time.
Sure.
And thank you all very much for taking the time to watch. Please share. Please let everybody know that they're going to need help down here for a long time. You might not be hearing about it in the media, on the national media or the local media, but they need help, and they're going to need help for a long time. And in the weeks and months to come, they're going to need different help. So staying in touch with somebody down here would help. And again, please share. Thank you all so much, and have a great night.